Equal treatment is regardless of any sort of sob story you could put on before it. Equal treatment. Test score, test score.
But I guess we can agree to disagree for the time being.
その平等、実は不平等じゃないですか？今回は保守系論客、チャーリー・カークと入試就職での人種や性別による優遇を肯定する学生の討論です。データは？根拠は？得意下がる学生に対し、チャーリーは実例で即応。結果の平等公平が招く不平等を論理で鋭く切り出します。現代における過度なアファーマティブアクションや DEI、多様性、公平性、包括性について、不平等な多様性は危険という議論できる時代となった今、チャーリーの論説が鋭く光る完全論破といっても差し支えのない内容となっています。では早速見ていきましょう。翻訳、世界の視点から。
And in these videos, you have said, quote for quote, white males have high test scores, white males shouldn't have to be penalized. You did acknowledge and say that people of color come from lower socioeconomic backgrounds that do not prioritize education much. But instead of making a suggestion on how to help those communities and continue to build those communities up, you continue to say that our institutions are becoming less excellent. And I'm confused as to what your definition of excellence is. Is that because white males aren't necessarily, in your opinion, getting accepted as in a higher rate, even though they technically are, because 41% of college admitted students are of the white race?
It should be higher than that, yeah.
Based on what? Where are you getting the statistics? I just want to understand.
It's a good question. The Supreme Court did a whole case on this, and it ruled against affirmative action, and we saw the books of Harvard. So
I don't want to cut you off. May I know for future reference so I can understand where you're coming from and get more context, could I know the Supreme Court case?
Yeah, so the name, 2.5 years ago, I think it was something out of California. Someone look it up. You could use Grok or ChatGPT.
If somebody could please look that up for me. Thank you.
So we saw the data out of Harvard. Harvard was the test case, and effectively approximating, but a white male had to get about a 30% higher test score to even be considered than an equivalent black student.
And when was this?
Over 30 years. So basically for a black student, they could do 30% worse on their standardized scores than an equivalent white student.
And you don't think that has any outside factors to do with it?
Well, that's not the point. The point is whether or not...
But how is that not the point?
Because I don't believe we should accommodate based on outside factors. You do.
Well, I do because I believe in progression. And I feel like you have stated in multiple of your videos, which I do have a quote.
No, fair enough. I'm just making sure we understand we disagree.
For sure.
I don't think we should change the rules of the game to accommodate...
What were the rules of the game?
Well, the rules of the game are that you should be treated fairly and equally, right?
For sure.
That's an American principle.
And I agree with that completely.
Got it. So, therefore, a white male should not be treated differently than a black male.
But when you come from a different...
Doesn't matter. Equal treatment or not. It's not whether or not you were said mean things when you grew up or whether your dad was a gangbanger. Doesn't matter.
Well, I'm not saying that's not the outside factors I'm talking about.
It doesn't matter what the outside factors are.
But can I explain where I'm coming from?
But understand, I'm going to finish and I'll let you talk.
Okay, of course.
Equal treatment is regardless of any sort of sob story you could put on before it. Equal treatment. Test score, test score.
And I completely agree with that. But I also come from a predominantly white town, so I understand what you're trying to say. In my district, we have so much funding, and I live in the Florida Keys, so there's a lot of funding that comes to my school. And you can drive 30 miles north, and you end up in Homestead, where they have a fraction of the funding that we have, and they don't have as much of the same testing instructors and people to help them, and have as much of the same outside resources. And then you can keep going another 30 miles, and you end up in Miami, where all the private schools are, and they get even more funding than where I come from, obviously I ended up where I am today because I continue to push through, and I didn't let any outside factors affect me. But at the end of the day, I kept going, and some people don't have that same ability, and I also
it doesn't. Again, first of all, in Florida, every public school gets the same amount of money. Okay, there's an equal funding across the board.
But you also get donations from the people in your community.
Fair enough, but Florida has...
And I know for a fact that my community gets many donations.
Florida has the most you could use equitable funding structure of any school and as universal school choice, basically. So that's number one. Number two, explain to me why, when we're admitting people for a job, should it just be what's on that piece of paper, or should race play into the factor?
So I know that your argument is mediocrity. I forgot. I don't
Mediocrity?
really. Okay, yeah, and I know that, and I also believe in quotas as well, but I don't think that it should be one and one, but they should go hand in hand. Because at the end of the day, if I have just as good as a resume as somebody next to me, I wanna understand where you're getting that jobs are just taking people because they're a woman, because they are black. I just want to see. And I understand what you're trying to say because of course, with affirmative action and DEI, that does give them an upper hand. But where does it say that you take somebody just because of that color?
All over the place. Capitol Street Partners back in the summer of 2022 said that they will not hire white men for internships. That's one example of thousands I could give.
But because of how many people are in there, how many people
no,
in
because
position?
they wanted to be. Again, that's irrelevant. It does not matter if you have an internship and everyone is a white man. If they're all qualified, that's great. It doesn't matter if they're all Asian or all black. It should be what merit qualification gets the people into that position.
And of course, but if this, say the school only wanted white people to attend.
No, good, like excellent qualified people. And if they end up majority white, who cares? Why does that matter?
I don't think that matters. I'm saying that affirmative action.
No, you are saying it matters.
I'm saying that, but I'm not saying for the white male or the black race or the Asian race or the Indian race, or understand what I'm saying? I'm saying that it works in favor for any race and any sex. It works, and it does 1,000%. And I don't understand where you're getting that information.
It is anti-white racism that was in the fiber of our laws that is now getting away thanks to President Donald Trump, where if you were a white man, especially to apply for internships, jobs, going to college, that it was significantly harder to get those jobs, to get into those practices, because there were quotas that made it easier for people of other skin colors with lower standards to be able to get those positions. We agree there's only so many slots in a college, right? There's only so many positions in an internship. It's a limited supply.
I completely agree.
It is scarcity. So when you have a scarce resource, you have to decide how you're going to divvy up that scarce resource.
For sure.
In a DEI model, they're going to say, okay, we're not going to do any more than 30% white, and then we'll do 15%. And so you kind of come up with these quotas. Therefore, they end up saying, well, what happens if the 15% black is not qualified? They don't care, which ends up happening far too often. Or what happens if the,
Can you give me examples of cases?
Yeah, air traffic control is actually a really good example. We now have all the documents that show that we went on a hiring spree to have more black air traffic controllers. There's a huge lawsuit about this, 15, 16, 17, where the standards for air traffic control have dropped so dramatically, and you're kind of seeing some of the effects of that potentially. And again, it's in almost every single corporate practice, every single college institution. But it just kind of comes down to more of a moral argument that I have, which is that if you have something based on merit, I don't care if it's all black, all Asian, all white. It's an excellent group is what I want, not a diverse group. I care about excellence, not diversity. Because I do not believe diversity is a strength. I believe unity is a strength. I believe the pursuit of higher purposes is a strength. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do understand where you're coming from. I feel like I do agree with some of the things that you did just say, and I may have to do some more research on the things that you said before, but I guess we can agree to disagree for the time being. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
今回の討論、皆さんはどう感じましたか？差別をなくしたいのであれば、極端な一律の優遇こそ逆に不平等を生む結果となります。もちろん、障害のある方への配慮や弱い立場の人を支える仕組みは不可欠。ただし、人種や出自といった属性を理由に、社会ルールとして一律優遇を義務化するのは慎重であるべきだと考えます。基準設計は、企業や学校など、現場で透明性を持って議論し決めること。そんな中、日本は男女共同参画関連の公的支出は巨額、年次で変動、約10兆円規模との指摘も。その投資が、今の生産性や生活の質にどれほど寄与しているのか、国民に対し、検証と説明を必要とする時期に来ているのではないでしょうか。SDGs、移民政策、ODA も含め、誰のための支出で何を改善したのかを見直す時期と感じます。このようなグローバリズムの名の下で進む政策は、どの政党が推し進め、何をもたらすのか、しっかり私たちの目で確かめましょう。あなたはどこまでを平等、公正と考えますか？ぜひコメントで、あなたの意見を聞かせてください。いいねとチャンネル登録もよろしくお願いします。